Amy Carter stepped off the transport ship and looked around Station Kepler 7 with wide eyes. The space station was huge. Metal walls curved high above her head, and bright lights made everything shine like silver. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past her. Some had blue skin and 4 arms. Others looked like giant insects with wings. A few had no legs at all and floated in the air. Amy was the first human to visit this station. Earth had just joined the Galactic Consortium, a group of alien worlds that worked together. The consortium wanted to learn about humans, so they invited Amy to come and work as a diplomat. She was nervous, but excited. A tall blue alien with 6 eyes walked up to her. He wore a white coat like a doctor. "Hello, human Amy Carter," he said in perfect English. "I am Dr. Zethkar. Welcome to our station." Amy smiled and shook his hand. His skin felt cold and smooth. "Thank you, Dr. Zethkar." "This place is amazing," Dr. Zethkar nodded. "Come, I will show you around. We have many interesting things here." 12. He led her down a long hallway. Through big windows, Amy could see the stars and other spaceships flying by. They walked past laboratories where aliens worked on strange machines. They saw rooms full of plants from different worlds. Some plants glowed with their own light. Others moved like they were alive and thinking. "We study life from all over the galaxy," Dr. Zethkar explained. "We try to understand how different species live and grow." They came to a section that looked different from the rest. The walls were thicker here. Warning signs in many alien languages covered the doors. Dr. Zethkar stopped walking and turned to Amy. "This is our containment facility," he said. His voice sounded worried. "We keep dangerous animals here. Animals that other species cannot handle." Amy felt a chill run down her back. "What kind of dangerous animals?" 3 cubs from the planet Vorthak. Their parents died in a mining accident. The cubs are very young, but they are already deadly. The Vorthak are the most feared predators in this part of the galaxy. Dr. Zethkar pressed his hand on a scanner. A heavy door slid open with a loud hiss. They walked into a room with thick glass walls on one side. Behind the glass was a large space with trees, rocks, and a small pond. 3 creatures sat in the far corner. They looked like a mix between big cats and wolves. Their fur was black, with silver stripes. The fur seemed to change colors as Amy watched. Right now it looked angry red and dark gray. The cubs were not very big, maybe the size of earth dogs. But Amy could see their long, sharp claws. Their eyes glowed yellow in the dim light. When they saw Dr. Zethkar, they made low growling sounds and backed away. "They have been here for 2 weeks, Dr. Zethkar said sadly. "We cannot get them to eat anything. Our guards have tried every kind of food. Meat from their home planet, special protein mixes, even live animals. They refuse everything." Amy pressed her hand against the glass. One of the cubs, the smallest one, looked at her. Its glowing eyes met hers. For a moment, Amy felt like the cub was looking deep into her mind. "They are dying," Dr. Zethkar continued. "If they do not eat soon, they will not live much longer. The consortium leaders are very upset. These cubs are the only Vorthok in our care. If they die, it will cause big problems with their home planet." "Have you tried asking them what they want?" Amy asked. Dr. Zethkar made a sound like a laugh, but not a happy one. "They are just animals, Amy Carter. Smart animals, yes. Dangerous animals, certainly. But they cannot talk." Amy looked at the cubs again. They did not look like just animals to her. She could see intelligence in their eyes. The way they moved was careful and planned. They watched everything around them. "Our best guards have tried to feed them," Dr. Zethkar said. "Guards from the warrior planet Krex. Guards who hunt dangerous beasts for a living. Even they are afraid of these cubs." "What happens if they die?" Amy asked. "War, perhaps. The Vorthak people love their young very much. They will blame us for not taking good care of these orphans. It could break our peace treaty with them. Amy watched the cubs huddle together. They looked scared and lonely. She thought about how she would feel if she was far from home with strangers who were afraid of her. The guards bring food 3 times each day, Dr. Zethkar explained. The cubs just stare at them with hate. Sometimes, they try to attack through the glass. Their claws are strong enough to scratch the barrier. A guard walked into the room. He looked like a giant lizard wearing armor. In his hands was a tray of raw meat. The cubs saw him coming, and their fur turned bright red. They made angry hissing sounds. The guard slid the tray through a small opening in the glass. As soon as the food appeared, the cubs ran to the opposite corner. They would not go near it. You see, Dr. Zethkar said, this happens every time. Amy felt sorry for the cubs. They were just babies who had lost their parents. Now they were trapped in a strange place, with beings who feared them. Can I try to help? She asked. Dr. Zethkar looked surprised. You? But you are even smaller than our guards. And you have no weapons or armor. Maybe that is why I should try, Amy said softly. Maybe they are scared because everyone who comes near them is ready for a fight. Dr. Zethkar thought about this. It is very dangerous, Amy Carter. These cubs could kill you with one swipe of their claws. But they are starving, Amy pointed out. If nothing changes, they will die anyway. What do we have to lose? Dr. Zethkar was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. Very well. But we will take every safety measure. You will not enter their space. You will only try to give them food through the barrier. Amy agreed. She looked at the 3 cubs one more time. They were watching her with those bright yellow eyes. She wondered what they were thinking about this strange new creature, who was not afraid of them. The next day, Amy went back to the containment area during her lunch break. She carried a simple brown bag with her meal inside. Dr. Zethkar had given her permission to try feeding the cubs, but she wanted to watch them first and learn their behavior. The 3 cubs were lying near their water pond. They looked thin and weak. Their beautiful fur had lost some of its shine. The smallest cub, a female, lifted her head when Amy approached the glass. Her yellow eyes followed Amy as she sat down in a chair near the barrier. Amy opened her lunch bag and pulled out her food. She had made herself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on white bread. It was simple food from Earth, nothing fancy. She also had an apple and some crackers. As she unwrapped the sandwich, the smallest cub stood up. The other 2 cubs noticed and also raised their heads. All 3 were now watching Amy eat her lunch. Amy took a bite of her sandwich and chewed slowly. The peanut butter was smooth and sweet. The jelly was grape-flavored, her favorite since she was a child. She smiled as she ate, remembering her mother making these same sandwiches for her school lunches. The cubs moved closer to the glass. They did not make any angry sounds. Their fur was not the bright red color it had been yesterday. Instead, it showed curious blues and greens. Amy noticed their interest and spoke to them softly. The smallest cub tilted her head like she was trying to understand. Amy broke off a small piece of her sandwich. Without really thinking about it, she walked to the food slot in the barrier. Dr. Zethkar said not to give you our food, Amy said quietly. But you are not eating anything else. Maybe you would like to try this. She pushed the piece of sandwich through the slot. It fell onto the floor of the enclosure. The 3 cubs stared at it for a long moment. The smallest cub stepped forward first. She sniffed the bread carefully. Her nose twitched as she smelled the peanut butter and jelly. Then, very slowly, she picked up the piece with her mouth and chewed it. Her fur immediately changed to bright yellow and gold colors. She made a soft sound that almost seemed like purring. The other 2 cubs came running over. They wanted to know what their sister had found. Amy broke off 2 more pieces and pushed them through the slot. Soon, all 3 cubs were eating the sandwich bits with great interest. Their fur showed happy colors Amy had never seen before. You like that, do you not? Amy said with a smile. It is just bread and peanut butter and jelly. Nothing special. But to the cubs, it seemed very special indeed. They finished every crumb and looked at Amy with hopeful expressions. Their eyes were bright and alert. Amy gave them the rest of her sandwich piece by piece. The cubs ate everything eagerly. When the sandwich was gone, they sat near the glass barrier and looked at Amy with what seemed like gratitude. Amy Carter, came a shocked voice behind her. Dr. Zethkar had entered the room and was staring at the scene with all 6 of his eyes wide open. What have you done? I shared my lunch with them, Amy said simply. They were hungry. Dr. Zethkar looked at the empty space where the sandwich pieces had been. They ate human food? But they have refused everything we offered them. Maybe they did not like what you offered, Amy suggested. Or maybe they were afraid of who was offering it. The cubs had not run away when Dr. Zethkar entered. They stayed near the glass. But their fur had changed to cautious orange and yellow colors. They were watching both Amy and the doctor carefully. This is impossible, Doctor, Zethkar said. We tried foods from their home planet. We tried the finest meats from dozens of worlds. How could simple earth bread work when nothing else did? Amy looked at the cubs thoughtfully. Maybe it was not about the food itself. Maybe it was about how I gave it to them. What do you mean? Amy thought about how she had approached the cubs. She had not been afraid. She had not carried weapons or worn armor. She had simply sat down and shared her meal like she might share with a friend. When your guards brought them food, how did they act? Amy asked. Dr. Zethkar thought about this. Well, they were very careful. They wore full protection. They moved quickly and tried to stay away from the cubs, so the cubs could tell they were afraid, Amy said. Smart animals can sense fear and hostility. Maybe these cubs refused to eat because they did not trust the people bringing the food. The smallest cub pressed her nose against the glass near Amy's hand. Her fur showed soft, green, and blue colors. Amy carefully placed her palm against the glass, where the cub's nose touched. The cub did not pull away. Look, Amy whispered. She is not afraid of me. Dr. Zethkar made notes on a small device. This is very strange, Amy Carter. The Vorthak are known to be hostile to all other species. They trust no one outside their own kind. Maybe no one ever tried to be their friend before, Amy said. Over the next hour, Amy stayed with the cubs. She told them about Earth and her life there. She described her home, her family, and her job. The cubs seemed to listen to every word. Their fur stayed calm and bright. When she finally had to leave, all 3 cubs came to the glass barrier. They watched her walk away with sad expressions. Will you come back tomorrow? Dr. Zethkar asked as they left the containment area. Of course, Amy said. I think they need a friend right now. Dr. Zethkar was quiet as they walked down the hallway. Amy Carter, I think you may have done something very important today. These cubs have not eaten in 2 weeks. You gave them one simple meal, and they are already looking stronger. Amy smiled. Sometimes, the best medicine is just knowing that someone cares about you. That night, Amy could not stop thinking about the 3 cubs. She remembered how their eyes had brightened when they saw her. She thought about how they had trusted her enough to take food from her hand. It made her feel proud and happy. She decided to bring them different human foods tomorrow. Maybe they would like other things from Earth. She went to the station's food storage and found ingredients to make cookies, crackers, and other simple treats. As she fell asleep, Amy wondered if she was the first person to make friends with a Vorthak. It seemed like the beginning of something special. Word about Amy's success with the Vorthak cubs spread quickly through Station Kepler 7. By the 3rd day, scientists from different alien species had gathered to watch Amy feed the cubs. They brought cameras, scanners, and other devices to record everything. Dr. Vexnari was a tall, thin alien with purple skin and large black eyes. She was the station's expert on animal minds and behavior. She arrived with a team of researchers and set up equipment outside the cub's enclosure. "This is very strange," Dr. Vexnari said as she watched Amy sit down with her lunch. "According to all our studies, Vorthok should not trust other species. They are born hunters. They see other creatures as either threats or food." Amy unwrapped a peanut butter and banana sandwich. The cubs immediately perked up and moved toward the glass. Their fur showed excited yellow and green colors. The smallest cub, whom Amy had started calling Luna, pressed her nose against the barrier. "Hello, Luna," Amy said softly. "Are you ready for lunch?" Dr. Vexnari's equipment started beeping rapidly. "Fascinating," she muttered. "The cub's brain activity is completely different when you speak to them." Amy broke her sandwich into 3 pieces and fed them through the slot. The cubs ate eagerly, making happy purring sounds. Their fur glowed with bright, warm colors. "Dr. Vexnari, what are your machines showing?" Dr. Zethkar asked. "The cubs are showing trust patterns in their brain waves," she explained. "When other species approach them, we see fear, anger, and defense signals. But with Amy Carter, we see curiosity, contentment, and something else I have never recorded before." "What is that something else?" Amy asked, as she gave Luna an extra piece of sandwich. "It looks like affection. The kind of brain patterns we see in cubs with their parents. Doctor, 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 doctor." Vexnari adjusted her equipment. "But this should be impossible. You are not their mother. You are not even their species." A new voice spoke from behind them. "Perhaps we should study the human instead of just the cubs." Everyone turned to see Dr. Krillan, a scientist from the water world of Aquatica. He looked like a giant octopus but walked on 2 strong tentacles. His other tentacles held scanning devices. "What do you mean?" Dr. Zethkar asked. "We have been wondering why the cubs trust Amy Carter," Dr. Krillan said. "But maybe the question should be, what makes Amy Carter different from us?" Dr. Vexnari nodded slowly. "You want to scan the human while she interacts with the cubs?" "With your permission, Amy Carter," Dr. Krillan said politely. Amy agreed. Dr. Krillan placed a small device on her head. It did not hurt at all. She continued talking to the cubs while the machine recorded her brain activity. "Tell me about your home," Dr. Vexnari said. Amy smiled and looked at the cubs. "I grew up on a farm in Kansas. We had lots of animals. Dogs, cats, horses, cows. My mother taught me that all animals can be friends if you treat them with kindness." The scanning device in Dr. Krillan's tentacle beeped excitedly. "Very interesting," he said. "Amy Carter, when you talk about kindness to animals, your brain produces very specific patterns." "What kind of patterns?" Amy asked. "Empathy signals. But not the basic empathy we see in most species. This is much stronger. Your mind actually tries to understand what the cubs are feeling and thinking." Dr. Vexnari checked her own equipment. "The cubs are responding to these empathy signals. Their brains are synchronizing with Amy's emotional state." "What does that mean?" Amy asked. "It means they can sense that you really care about them," Dr. Zethkar explained. "Not just as interesting creatures to study, but as individuals." Over the next few days, more scientists joined the research. They discovered that the Vorthak cubs had a special ability. They could read the emotions and intentions of other living beings through a kind of mental sensing. Dr. Yithara was an expert in psychic abilities. She was a crystal being from the planet Prism. Her body looked like living glass that changed colors when she thought. "The cubs are natural telepaths," Dr. Yithara explained. "They can sense the true feelings in other minds. This is why they rejected food from other species." "I do not understand," Amy said. "Every alien who tried to feed them carried fear or disgust or clinical interest in their thoughts. The guards were afraid of being hurt. The scientists saw them as test subjects. Even when people tried to hide these feelings, the cubs could sense them." Amy thought about this as she fed the cubs their afternoon snack of crackers and cheese. But I was not afraid of them? Pada? Not at all, Doctor, Yathara said, her crystal body glowing with soft light. Your mind radiates genuine affection and maternal instincts. You look at them and see 3 orphaned children who need care and love. The scientists ran more tests over the following week. They discovered something amazing about humans that even Amy had not known. Humans have a unique emotional signature, Dr. Vexnari announced to the research team. Most species evolved with survival instincts that make them wary of predators, but humans also evolved with strong parental and protective instincts that extend beyond their own species. Dr. Krillon added his findings. When Amy Carter sees a creature in distress, her brain automatically tries to help, regardless of how dangerous that creature might be. This is very rare in the galaxy. Quote, Amy was amazed by what the scientists told her. So humans are different from other species? Very different, Doctor, Zethkar said. Most of us can show kindness to our own kind, and maybe to species that are similar to us. But humans seem able to feel genuine compassion for any living thing. The cubs had grown stronger and healthier under Amy's care. They were bigger now, and their fur was thick and shiny. But more importantly, they had learned to trust. When Amy entered their enclosure area, they would run to the glass to greet her. Luna had become especially attached to Amy. She would follow Amy's movements with her eyes and make soft calling sounds when Amy had to leave. The cubs are learning to communicate with you, Dr. Yathara observed. They are trying to send their thoughts to your mind. Amy had noticed this too. Sometimes, when she looked at the cubs, she felt like she could almost understand what they wanted to tell her. It was like hearing whispers in a language she did not know but somehow understood. What are they trying to say? Amy asked. Dr. Yathara's crystal body pulsed with gentle light. They are saying, friend, safe, and family. They see you as someone who belongs with them. Amy felt tears in her eyes. These 3 orphaned cubs had accepted her as part of their pack. It was one of the most beautiful things she had ever experienced. The research had created excitement throughout the consortium. Other stations began reporting similar situations with dangerous or difficult creatures. Animals that had been impossible to handle were suddenly becoming calm around human caretakers. Amy Carter, Dr. Zethkar said one day, I think you have discovered something that will change how we understand relationships between different species. Amy looked at the 3 cubs playing together in their enclosure. They were happy, healthy, and no longer the feared predators everyone had once been afraid of. Maybe we just needed to remember that every creature wants the same basic things, Amy said. To feel safe, to be cared for, and to know they are not alone. News of Amy's success with the Vorthak cubs traveled across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within 2 weeks, Station Kepler 7 received urgent messages from dozens of different worlds. All of them had the same request. They needed human help with their own dangerous animals. Captain Rick Mason, Amy's commanding officer, called her to his office. His desk was covered with data tablets, showing requests from across consortium space. He looked amazed and a little overwhelmed. Amy, we have a situation, Captain Mason said. Every major research facility, zoo, and wildlife preserve in this sector wants to borrow you. Amy sat down and looked at the messages. There were requests from ice worlds, desert planets, water worlds, and even space stations in empty regions between stars. All of them described animals that had become too dangerous or difficult to handle. Station Proxima 3 has a pack of crystal wolves that attack anyone who comes near them. Captain Mason read from one tablet. The wildlife preserve on Jungle Moon Beta has carnivorous plants that have killed 3 researchers. Even the underwater city of Coral 9 has sea creatures that refuse to let anyone maintain their habitat. Everyone. We have less. What do they want me to do? Amy asked. The same thing you did here, They want you to try making friends with creatures that everyone else considers hopeless cases. Dr. Zethkar entered the office, carrying more data tablets. Amy Carter. This morning I received a call from the Consortium Science Council. They are very interested in your work. They want to create a new department for human-animal relations. Amy felt nervous and excited at the same time. Do they really think what happened with Luna and her brothers was that special? Judge for yourself, Captain Mason said. He activated a large screen on his office wall. This morning, 3 more stations reported breakthroughs with their problem animals. The screen showed videos from different locations. In the first video, a human scientist named Jake Williams was feeding strange bird-like creatures with 6 wings. The birds, which had been attacking people for months, were now eating peacefully from his hands. In the second video, a human woman named Lisa Park was playing with what looked like living rocks. The creatures had been hostile to everyone else, but they rolled around her feet like happy puppies. The third video showed a human man named Tony Clark swimming with dangerous fish creatures that could dissolve metal with their acid. The fish were gently nudging him with their noses, like they wanted to play. This is happening everywhere humans are assigned to work with difficult animals, Dr. Zethkar explained. It is not just you, Amy Carter. It seems all humans have this special ability. Amy watched the videos with wonder. But why us? What makes humans different? A new voice answered her question. Because you are pack animals who adopted the entire universe as your pack. Everyone turned to see Luna standing in the doorway. The young Vorthak had grown much larger over the past month. She was now the size of a big dog and could talk through the translation device Dr. Yith-Ara had made for her. Luna, Amy said with delight. How did you get out of the enclosure? Dr. Zethkar said I could visit you if I promised to behave, Luna replied. Her fur showed happy gold and green colors. I wanted to tell you something important about humans. Captain Mason looked nervous about having a predator in his office, but Amy gestured for him to stay calm. Luna walked over to Amy and sat down beside her chair like a loyal dog. What did you want to tell me? Amy asked. My brothers and I have been talking to other cubs through the station's communication system, Luna said. We spoke with the crystal wolves, the metal fish, and many other creatures. They all say the same thing about humans. What do they say? Luna's eyes glowed with warm light. Humans smell like family, not like strangers or enemies, like pack members who belong with us. Dr. Zethkar took notes rapidly. This is very important information. Luna, can you explain what you mean by smell like family? All creatures have a mind scent, Luna explained. Most species smell like their own kind and fear everything else, but humans smell like they could belong to any pack, any family, any group. Amy thought about this. It reminded her of how humans had always lived with animals on Earth. Dogs, cats, horses, and many other creatures had become part of human families. Humans seemed to naturally want to care for and protect other living things. The wolves told us that humans feel like alpha pack members who do not need to fight for dominance, Luna continued. The fish said humans feel like members of their school who bring food instead of competition. Captain Mason leaned forward with interest. So, different species see humans as fitting into their social structures? Yes, Luna said. But more than that, humans make other species feel safe to be themselves. You do not try to change us or make us less than what we are. You accept us as we are and help us be our best selves. Over the next few days, Amy worked with Luna and Dr. Zethkar to contact the other stations with animal problems. They set up video calls so Luna could talk to the creatures directly and ask them about their experiences with humans. The results were amazing. Every creature that had formed a bond with a human caretaker described the same feeling of acceptance and safety. The crystal wolves said their human caretaker felt like a pack leader they could trust. The metal fish described their human friend as a school member who brought good hunting and protection. It is like humans have a universal translator for emotions, Dr. Vexnari observed. You can communicate care and friendship in a way that every species understands. Amy received a special assignment from the consortium. She would travel to different worlds and help establish human-led programs for caring for difficult animals. The first stop would be the ice world of Frost 7, where giant polar bear creatures had been attacking research teams. "Are you ready for this responsibility?" Captain Mason asked her. Amy looked at Luna, who was now her constant companion. The young Vorthok wore a special harness that identified her as a diplomatic assistant. Her two brothers had also been certified as ambassadors for their species. "I think so," Amy said. "If humans really have this special gift for making friends across species, then we should use it to help as many creatures as possible." Dr. Zethkar handed her a data tablet with information about the ice bears. These creatures have been isolated from other species for thousands of years. They attack anything that comes near their territory. Several research teams have been forced to abandon their work because of these attacks. Amy studied the information about the ice bears. They were huge, powerful creatures with thick white fur and claws like metal blades. According to the reports, they had killed or injured dozens of people over the past year. "They sound scary," Amy admitted, "but they also sound lonely. Maybe they attack because they think everyone who comes to their world wants to hurt them." Luna's fur showed confident blue and silver colors. "Amy, friend, my brothers and I will come with you. If these ice bears are as smart as they sound, we can talk to them for you." "You would do that? You saved our lives and became our family," Luna said. "Now we will help you save other creatures and make new families." Amy felt proud and grateful. What had started as sharing a simple sandwich with 3 hungry cubs had grown into something much bigger. She packed her bags with simple human foods: sandwiches, cookies, crackers, and fruit. She had learned that it was not just about the food itself, but about the act of sharing it with kindness and care. As their ship prepared to leave for Frost 7, Amy wondered what other amazing creatures were waiting to meet their first human friend. 6 months later, Amy stood in the great assembly hall of the Consortium Council. The enormous dome-shaped room was filled with representatives from hundreds of different worlds. Some looked like giant insects, others like living plants, and many had shapes Amy could not even describe. Luna, now fully grown and magnificent, stood beside her. Her 2 brothers, Storm and Star, flanked them on both sides. The 3 Vorthak were no longer the scared, hungry cubs Amy had first met. They were proud, intelligent ambassadors for their species. At the center of the hall was a speaking platform. Amy walked toward it with steady steps, though her heart was beating fast. She had spoken to small groups before, but never to the entire Consortium Council. The hall fell silent as she reached the platform. Hundreds of alien eyes looked at her with curiosity and respect. 6 months ago, most of these beings had never heard of humans. Now they all knew the stories of the species that could make friends with any creature. "Honored representatives," Amy began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. "I stand before you today not just as a human, but as a friend to many species across our galaxy." She gestured to Luna and her brothers. "When I first met these 3 Vorthok, they were dying, not from disease or injury, but from loneliness and fear. Every species that tried to help them approached them as dangerous predators to be controlled. None of them thought to approach them as children who needed care." End quote. The representative from the warrior planet Krex stood up. He was a massive lizard-like being covered in battle scars. "Human Amy Carter, my people have fought Vorthak in space battles for centuries. How did you see them as children when we saw only enemies?" Amy smiled. "Because that is what they were, sir. Children. Lost, scared children who needed someone to care about them, not someone to fear them." Luna stepped forward and spoke through her translator. "Honored Krex warrior, my people have fought your people because we thought you wanted to destroy us. But Amy friend taught us that not all fights are necessary. Some can be ended with friendship instead of weapons." A murmur of surprise went through the assembly. It was the first time a Vorthak had spoken peacefully to a Krex in recorded history. The representative from the ocean world Aquatica raised several tentacles. We have heard reports of similar successes across the galaxy. Humans working with creatures that were thought to be unmanageable. Can you explain this phenomenon? Amy had spent months working with Dr. Zethkar and other scientists to understand what made humans special. Now, she shared what they had learned. Humans evolved on a world with many different species, Amy explained. We learned to live alongside creatures that were very different from us. Dogs, cats, horses, birds, and many others became our partners and friends. This taught us to see the individual personality in every living thing. She paused and looked around the hall. Most species in the galaxy evolved to trust their own kind and be suspicious of others. But humans evolved to expand their families, to include anyone who needed care and protection. The crystal, being Dr. Yith Ara, had been invited to speak as well. Her body glowed with soft light as she addressed the assembly. Our research shows that humans have a unique form of empathy. They can genuinely care about the well-being of any creature, regardless of species, appearance, or behavior. The representative from the ice world, Frost 7, stood up. She was tall and thin with blue-white skin. Human Amy Carter visited our world 3 months ago. For years, the giant ice bears had made our research impossible. They attacked anyone who came near them. In 1 week, Amy Carter had them eating from her hands and protecting our research teams. Amy remembered that mission well. The ice bears had been enormous, fierce creatures with claws like swords. But they had also been protecting their cubs from what they saw as invaders. Once Amy showed them that the researchers wanted to help preserve their habitat, the bears became allies instead of enemies. What did you do differently than our own teams? The Frost 7 representative asked. I brought them fish and told them about my home, Amy said simply. I sat with them in the snow and shared my food. I listened to their concerns about their cubs and their territory. I treated them like neighbors instead of obstacles. The head of the consortium council was an ancient being called the Eternal Sage. No one knew what species he belonged to. He was very old and very wise. He floated above the assembly in a sphere of light. Human Amy Carter, the Eternal Sage, spoke in a voice like distant thunder. The consortium has existed for 10,000 years. In all that time, we have struggled to find peaceful solutions to conflicts between species. You have shown us something we had forgotten. What is that, honored sage? That the strongest bonds are not made through treaties or trade agreements, but through genuine friendship and care. The Eternal Sage gestured to the assembly. Today, we announce the creation of the Interspecies Empathy Initiative. This new department will be led by humans and will focus on building emotional connections between different species. Amy felt honored and humbled. What would this initiative do? You will train humans to work with difficult or dangerous creatures across the galaxy, the sage explained. You will teach other species about the human approach to interspecies friendship, and you will help establish peaceful contact with species that have been isolated due to their aggressive reputations. Luna stepped forward again. The Vorthak homeworld wants to make an official request. The assembly listened with great attention. The Vorthak had been isolated from galactic politics for over 1,000 years. We request humans as our official ambassadors to other species, Luna announced. For the first time in our history, we want to join the galactic community. But we only trust humans to represent our interests and help us make friends instead of enemies. This caused excited discussion throughout the hall. If the feared Vorthak were willing to join the consortium, it would change the balance of power in this entire region of space. Similar requests came from other species representatives. The crystal wolves wanted humans to help them establish trade relationships. The metal fish requested human mediators for territorial disputes. Even the dangerous acid creatures from the poison world asked for human friendship ambassadors. It seems, the Eternal Sage observed with what might have been amusement, that humans have become the most popular species in the galaxy. Amy looked around at all the different beings in the assembly. A few months ago, most of them would have been afraid to be in the same room with each other. Now they were talking about friendship and cooperation. I think it just shows that everyone wants the same thing, Amy said. To be understood, accepted, and cared for. It does not matter what planet you come from or what you look like. Everyone wants to belong somewhere. The session concluded with the formal establishment of the Interspecies Empathy Initiative. Amy was appointed as its first director. Humans from Earth would be recruited and trained to work with alien species across the galaxy. As the assembly dispersed, Amy walked outside with Luna and her brothers. They sat on a balcony overlooking the space station's central park, where plants and creatures from many worlds lived together in harmony. Amy pulled out a simple peanut butter and jelly sandwich from her bag. She broke it into 4 pieces and shared it with her 3 Vorthak friends. Just like she had done so many months ago. Do you think we really changed things? Amy asked. Luna's fur showed deep blue and gold colors, the Vorthak expression for contentment and wisdom. Amy, friend, you showed the galaxy that differences do not have to mean fear. That friendship is possible between any creatures who are willing to try. Storm and Star nodded their agreement. They had learned to speak some human words without translators. Good friends, Star said in careful English. Good family. Amy smiled and looked up at the stars visible through the station's dome. Somewhere out there were countless creatures who had never known friendship with other species. But that was changing. Humans were becoming the bridges that connected all the different peoples of the galaxy. It had all started with 3 hungry cubs and a simple sandwich shared with kindness. Sometimes, the smallest acts of compassion could change the entire universe.